The numbers didn't lie, but they didn't make sense either. Sector 2. Medium-speed corners. For years, this was Charles Leclerc's fortress, his territory inside Ferrari. Teammates like Vettel, Sainz, even Raikkonen came and went. But no one, and I mean no one, could outbrake him. Until now. Lewis Hamilton didn't just go deeper into the braking zone. He did it smoother, cleaner, with more rotation and less correction. And he made it look easy. The engineers ran the data 3 times. The simulator rejected it each time. It wasn't supposed to be possible. But in Formula One, when reality doesn't fit the model, you don't ignore the data. You question the model. Inside Maranello, the simulator is scripture. Every brake map, every energy recovery mode, built around Charles Leclerc's inputs. He was the control variable, the one constant in a storm of concepts and upgrades. And then came Hamilton. First it was Shanghai, then Imola, then Canada. Breaking traces that didn't just bend expectations, they shattered them. He was braking 3 to 5 meters later than Leclerc's modeled limit, and still making the apex. No lockups, no instability, just cold clinical control. One engineer said, "We've built this car around Charles, and Lewis just broke it." They didn't say it with malice. They said it with awe, because Hamilton wasn't asking for the team to adapt to him. He was forcing it, without politics, without noise, just performance. And that's how belief shifts in F1. Not through strategy meetings or press briefings, but in the silence of a debrief room, when every engineer starts their sentence with, "based on what Lewis felt." Make no mistake, this wasn't just Hamilton adapting. This was Hamilton rewriting Ferrari's neural code. And for Charles, it wasn't just frustrating, it was existential. Ferrari has a saying internally, the simulator never sleeps, but now it's getting outrun. Because Hamilton isn't just driving faster. He's driving in a way the system wasn't programmed to understand. Real-time adaptive braking, modulation based on wind gusts, micro-adjustments in pedal pressure that shift corner balance by degrees before the car even reacts. You can't teach that. You can't model that. You can only witness it. One lead engineer, a veteran from the Schumacher era, whispered the unspeakable. "I haven't seen brake control like this since Michael." And that hit Maranello like an earthquake. Because at Ferrari, comparing anyone to Schumacher is a line you don't cross unless the evidence is bulletproof. But this is what shook them most. It wasn't a one-off. It was repeatable. Across circuits, across compounds, across temperatures. Leclerc, to his credit, tried to catch up. Pushed deeper into Baku's turn 3. Missed the apex, lost 2/10. On race day, backed off. Lost track position. That's not car performance. That's mental disruption. And Hamilton? He didn't say a word. Because when you're the one changing the gravitational pull inside a garage, you don't need to speak. The telemetry does the talking. This Ferrari wasn't designed for Lewis Hamilton, but it's becoming his. Brake migration profiles, once sacred to Leclerc, are now based on Hamilton's preferences. Engineers no longer question his instinct. They start with it. The map is changing, literally. In Montreal, engineers quietly renamed a new braking profile, Map LHA. No one announced it. No one debated it. They just executed. Ferrari isn't being taken over by politics. It's being taken over by performance. The red machine no longer dances to Charles's rhythm alone. It's learning Hamilton's language, corner by corner, lap by lap. This is what true greatness looks like. Not in sound bites, not in social media quotes, but in the millisecond gaps between brake and throttle, where champions are carved and dynasties are either protected or overthrown. And for Leclerc, this isn't just a fight for race wins anymore. It's a fight for the soul of Ferrari, because when belief shifts in Formula One, it doesn't come back. Oscar Piastri has just done something no title contender has dared to do since Alain Prost walked away from McLaren in '89. He said no to team orders, flat out. No room for nuance, no PR filter. "I'm not willing to enter those talks at all." Now here's why that's not just bold, it's potentially insane. He's leading the championship. He's got Max Verstappen lurking 43 points behind, and instead of locking down the team around him, he's leaving the door wide open. for Lando Norris to take everything away. But maybe that's the real play. Because if you listen closely, what Piastri's doing isn't just moral, it's strategic, and it might be the most high-risk, high-integrity power move in modern Formula One. Let's be clear, team orders have decided world championships. Think Schumacher, Barrichello, think Vettel-Weber. Even Rosberg's title in 2016 didn't come without some strategic support from Mercedes, and now we have McLaren, sitting on a car that's finally championship-worthy, choosing not to play the game everyone else plays when the stakes get high. That's what makes Piastri's stance so radical. He's leading. He has 5 wins. He's proven he can beat Lando Norris on merit. And instead of cashing in political chips, he's saying, I just want a fair shot. Here's the genius. He's weaponizing fairness. Because McLaren, unlike Red Bull, doesn't have a top-down hierarchy. It has 2 equals. And if Piastri keeps winning without team orders, it becomes impossible for the garage to pivot toward Lando, no matter how fast Norris gets. The respect Piastri earns by not asking for protection, it becomes his shield. It builds quiet loyalty in the garage, in the strategy room, even in the sim setups. He's not asking for the team to get behind him. He's making them want to. Now here's the dark cloud above all of this. McLaren is walking a razor's edge, because while Piastri and Norris take points off each other, Verstappen, one of the greatest closers in F1 history, is waiting to pounce. Let's do the math. Verstappen is 43 points behind. A DNF or a team tangle at Monza, that gap's gone. And Max, he doesn't need permission to dominate. The McLaren garage knows this. Zach Brown knows this. And yet, they're still sticking to the moral code. We'd rather lose fair than win dirty. You know what that is? That's punk rock. That's anti-corporate. That's saying, we don't care how Red Bull does it, we're going to win our way. But make no mistake, this isn't without risk. Because if Max wins the title by 6 points because McLaren refused to make Lando hold station for Piastri, that'll haunt them for years. And yet, that's what makes this season electric. Because McLaren isn't just racing for trophies, they're racing for identity. They're putting sportsmanship over spreadsheets. And for the first time in a long time, the team from Woking isn't just building a fast car, they're building a legacy. What Piastri said wasn't just a soundbite, it was a statement of intent. In an era where every point is micromanaged, where drivers are pawns in billion-dollar brands, Oscar Piastri is betting that honor can still win championships. He's not asking Lando to move over. He's not playing the politics. He's saying, if I'm good enough, I'll beat him. If I'm not, I shouldn't be champion anyway. It's raw, it's rare, and it's why this title fight just became more than just numbers. It's a war between power and principle, between team politics and personal code. And Piastri, he just planted the flag that says, come and take it. Everyone thinks they know why Lewis Hamilton is struggling. The tires, the brakes, the power unit. But they're all wrong. Because the only man who's been in the trenches with Lewis for a decade, the man who turned strategy into science at Mercedes, just dropped a quiet bombshell. James Vowles has finally said what no one at Ferrari will. Lewis hasn't got the specific elements he needs to feel strength from the car. That phrase isn't technical, it's surgical. And it explains why Ferrari hasn't unlocked Lewis Hamilton. Not yet. But it also hints at something more dangerous. When he does get what he needs, Ferrari may become his weapon, not his weakness. Let's start with the truth the headlines ignore. Lewis isn't a plug-and-play driver. He's not adaptable in the generic way pundits love to toss around. He needs connection, not just performance. At Mercedes, the car was built to his frequency. Every balance change, every brake map, every throttle curve was fine-tuned to his micro-feelings. That's why when Vowles says it's about building confidence from specific elements, he's talking about trust at the limits. And right now, the Ferrari SF25 isn't talking to him in the right language. The braking zones feel alien. The torque delivery isn't as predictable. The corner entry behavior shifts just enough to destabilize his flow. He's not driving a bad car. He's driving a car that wasn't born for him. And here's the brutal irony. Charles Leclerc thrives on chaos. He drives through instability. He reacts. Lewis doesn't react. He orchestrates. That's why he's struggled. Not because he's slower, but because Ferrari's current feedback loop is not built for his genius. Vowles said something else, and it's subtle, but massive. When he's confident, he and Charles are this close. That wasn't just a compliment, that was a warning. Because here's what the stats won't show you yet. In Miami, Hamilton pushed Leclerc hard. In China, sprint win. Every time the SF25 behaves predictably for a few stints, Hamilton is right there. This isn't a decline story, it's a latency story. Lewis is processing a new operating system, one that fights his instincts. And when you've spent 12 years with Mercedes muscle memory baked into your subconscious, every 10th takes longer to reclaim. Let's be real. Carlos Sainz adapted to Ferrari, yes, but not while carrying the weight of 7 world championships. Not while recalibrating 12 seasons of deeply ingrained sensory memory. Not while being expected to lead Ferrari out of decades of dysfunction on day one. That's why Vowles' statement matters. It's all possible. It's all adaptation. Coming from the man who saw Hamilton build dynasties, this isn't a eulogy, it's a forecast. And it tells you something Ferrari hasn't admitted yet. They didn't just sign a legend. They signed someone who can redefine what their car needs to be. Let the doubters laugh. Let the media dissect every race where Charles finishes higher. They don't get it. Because here's the truth Vowles knows, and that Ferrari is slowly realizing. You don't win with Hamilton by making him adapt to your car. You win by letting him reshape the car into something only he can drive. And when that shift happens, Ferrari doesn't just have a champion, they have a kingmaker. This isn't just about finding pace. This is about unlocking belief in a system that was never built for Lewis, but may soon become the most dangerous thing on the grid because of him. And that's the kind of transformation that wins titles. Not in 2025, but in 2026, and when the entire sport resets, and Ferrari has a car written in Hamilton's signature. Watch the space between now and then, because every lap where he gets closer, it's not about recovery, it's about the rise before the storm.